Okay, welcome back. Here we go again. We're going to try and desolder the ESC boards. We're using a pair of vice grips, which is probably a bit non-kosher to have a makeshift workbench because we don't really have a decent place to work around here. Using the cardboard box that the airframe came in. Our soldering iron is at temperature, it's heated up, so let's explore how we get these solder holes to show up. So I'm actually putting some solder in here now, which is counterintuitive, but you can put solder in here to get flux on top of the joint, and that makes it easy to heat. So now we're going to do some unsoldering or desoldering with this desoldering tool. You cock the tool like this, and the trick now is to heat this joint, and when the solder is molten, you use this thing and press the button. It sucks the solder into the tool via a vacuum. This is a very common technician's technique. So it's going to be difficult with a camera angle to see this, but what we'll do is we'll heat up this joint here. Solder looks molten, suck it out. That didn't go very well. And the solder will jam in here, so you have to push it out. Sometimes you can't get it out, so these tools are not so good. You want to take the top of the tool apart and empty out any solder that's remaining in here. Take the plunger of this tool and shove it through the nozzle backwards, and that's how you get the solder out of this nozzle so that you can keep desoldering. If this tool doesn't work, we're dead in the water. So I'm not doing too well getting that thing out. I might have bent the pipe too. Let's put the spring back in and see if this thing still works. Spring back in. Let's put the nozzle back on the desoldering tool. Let's test it. Seems okay. Let's try another wire here. Another pad. This pad's molten. Let's suck it out. Nope. Not having much luck here. We need to get these holes cleaned up. Anyway, you can tell that soldering is a technique that you have to develop. So I'm not having a luck with this ESC at all. And my tool keeps jamming. Okay, I pushed that hard and it looks like it got the soldering plug out of it, which is good. Now we can keep going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flow some solder in here, and the whole thing is that if you flow solder in here and suck it out, you can always suck out a continuous stream of it, of new solder. That's kind of a trick I've learned throughout the years, so I'm going to try this over again by putting fresh solder in here, heating the joint, and trying to flow it out that way. You might want to check suction. If you put your finger here, this thing should not go up all the way. So this thing has suction, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm probably not getting enough heat. Another trick is you can heat the other side of this thing and try and suck it out that way. Let's see how that works. I'm heating the other side. It's smoking. There's some heat. That worked very well. So I got a clean hole here. The hole is clean. The wire can get through. Oh man. So as you can tell, this is not a lot of fun. Now my tool's jammed again. And I can't continue without cleaning up this tool. So what I'm going to do is take the tool apart, and if I could find a screwdriver here, maybe this Allen wrench will work. We want to get some solder out of the tip of this thing, so you can see the tip has a solder bead in there. We want to get out without puncturing our hand. Boy, it's really in there. So the only downside of this is that this tool can get really plugged. Well, look at that. There comes the solder plug. You see the little solder plug there? Watch this. Came right out. So this big hunk of solder was in there, which was causing the tool to kind of bind. Anyway, that's some of the nature of desoldering. So we'll probably get about 5 or 6 tries of this thing where it's going to work really good until it gets a lot of solder back in it. So that's how to do it. It's all a technique. Let's test the tool. Test the suction. It's working really good now. So with that said, we'll put a bit of solder on the second hole here to get it flowing. And we'll go from underneath it again, as we know that works well. So now we got some flow. The tool is cocked. Hand on the rudder there, and we're going to go underneath this thing, right? Get some flow out of it. There it is. Hit the thing. Perfect. So we're 2 out of 3 sucked out. Let's do the third one here for the ABC wires. Perfect. So let's check out our work here. Okay, I don't know if you can see the holes here, but I'll show them to you here with the camera. Let's focus it. So you can see we sucked those holes out real nice. And this board's ready to go. So let's work on the second board. We're going to do it the same way. Going to put it in the vice grips gently. The vice grips can smash this board, so you got to really be careful with these. You just want the board in there ever so slightly, and you want it toward the bottom of the vice grips, so it's down around there. There, this thing is not being smashed, but it's got a pretty firm grip on it. Let's go to the edge of the box here. So this box makes a pretty good workbench. What do you think? Let's get it out so you can watch. I think we're focused now. There. Now we're going to flow some solder into these joints again to make sure we got some flux that will ease this stuff from coming out once it's molten. Solder that one. This one doesn't look too bad on B. Take care of A. That's it. Did I put this board in right? Actually, I didn't. I put the board upside down. You want to get the side that you're soldering it in from, so this is how it goes. Gotta be careful here. Okay, now vice grip's gotta be tightened a bit. There we go. Not too tight. Just like that. So now we want to heat from underneath this thing and suck the solder out so the holes are visible for the big thick wires. So with that, we're going to go underneath here and using this tool to press down to make contact with a hot soldering iron tip. This stuff will melt. There it goes. Suck it. That hole looks good. Gotta be careful though, you don't want to overheat this thing, so you'll rip the traces off the board. That's good. Suck it. That one didn't work, so let's redo it. Looks good. Let's get this last one here. So this might give you confidence that this isn't so bad, right? Okay, that one didn't work, so we're going to redo it. Don't make it too hot though. You just watch for the thing to, now it's molten, hit it. Okay. This one came out okay. It looks like there's a obstruction here. Let's put the iron in here and try and remove that. So put the iron in and just try and quickly melt that. There. How did this one come out? Let's take a look. Let's get some focus on this camera. This camera has autofocus, but I haven't engaged it. Okay, so that one looks pretty good too. And these are the front ESCs for the bird, right? With how the red lights on them. So now we're ready to solder these ESCs into the bird, which we can do. This is more of an art than a science. You might want to clear the workbench off with this old solder that came out of the desoldering tool. We shouldn't need to do any more desoldering, I would hope. But you never know. So I moved the fragments over here. Now we have a clear area to work on. So let's get the bird back over here. Here's the bird. Okay, these ESCs go to the front of the bird, so the long point is the front of the bird, so it doesn't matter which side in the front these go on. You just want to get them on there. So let's get to that. I'm checking the camera here for some focus. Looks like we're focused. And looks like I can move this box a bit over to the middle so you can see what's going on. Yep, you can see. So let's do it up. Okay, this ESC, the tricky part of this is getting these two power wires from the controller board to power the ESC. These are the DC supply wires. These are a bear to get on, so we know that these supply wires go on the board here. And there's a lot of solder still hanging around there from last time I did this. And the way I did this last time was I just heated up these wires while the board was close. The red wire goes by the connector here. Nope, no, I'm wrong. The two red wires, the A is a red wire and this is a red wire, so they go together, which is good. The black wire goes here by the connector, so we can start with the black wire. The black DC wire, so make sure it's DC wire from the smaller DC wire, not a stick, from the controller. And that goes here. So there's probably a good technique for doing this, but I don't know it. So what I'm going to do is get these things close and jam the iron in there and try and get some flow. And the way you do that is let the wire hang in the air, okay? So the wire is hanging in the air. It's a pretty stiff wire. And you have to angle your body around. If I had a bench, it wouldn't be so hard. So I'm just going to heat up the stuff and hope for the best. So I'm heating the pad up. It's molten now. There, it's molten. Took the heat off. Okay, that worked. It's got a short though. So you can take this and quickly melt the short. Okay, the short's melted. I had a short from the negative to the positive, which would have, who knows what would have happened with that. So we can examine now what was done with that wire, okay? With that wire, I'm going to give you a good overview of how this looks. Let's try the camera's autofocus function, see if it'll go. Okay, moving to autofocus. Will it do it? Come on, focus on that. Okay, it's working. What do you know? So, let the camera focus on this here. Can you see it? Let's see if that focused in. Looks like it did. Look at that. So, do you see how the black wire is on there now? That's what you want to do. And now we're going to go for the red wire from the DC supply from the control board in the middle of the bird. Let's see if she'll focus out automatically. Looks like autofocus is working, so that's one less thing to worry about. And maybe you'll get a better view. Okay, here's the other wire from the control board. This is a positive wire. And again, we're going to have the wire sitting on its own. We're going to melt the connection between the wire and the board and see if we can just weasel this thing on there. Mind you, there's a lot of solder still on the board from last time I did this. This is actually the hardest part of this whole thing, I think, is getting these two wires on. So I'm hitting the pad now, and the wire's kind of flopping around. Pad's melted. Now, this is a big pad for the positive, so we can hit it anywhere. I think we got it. It's important this wire doesn't come off because you'll lose your bird. It'll go out of control. If one of the motors goes out, you'll crash. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Did the camera focus it? Nope. How about there? Nope. There, camera's focusing out. Come on. Anyway, you can see that thing's on there pretty good, right? It's on there nice. So now we have to do the 3 wires to the motor. So those wires are going to go from the holes we have in. And those wires, so right now this board is pretty loose and fluid, and so I'm going to try and plug in the ESC control cable, which is the small delicate 3-wire cable. It's very, very dainty. We're going to plug this into the connector here to get it done, okay? And that connector has a slot on it, and the pins do face to one side, and the one side is the outer part of the board, so we're going to flop this little guy over here and just plug it in to get it done. I can't show you because it's very, very hard to do, but I've put that in there, and now the little plug is in. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see it. That little white plug is in. Now we're going to do these 3 wires. The red wire always goes by the red wire here to A. The blue wire goes to B. And the black wire goes to C. We're now going to put those in. Starting with the red wire. The red wire is kind of difficult looking, so we might try and use the solder sucker to get some of the junk off it. Let's see how that works. Here's our solder sucker. And we're going to heat this wire up and try and suck some stuff off it. Wire's heating. Plunk. Did it suck it off? Yeah, it did. How's the blue wire? Let's suck him off too. Is the wire a him or a her, or is it neuter? I don't know. It's neuter. Okay. That wire sucked off. So now, from past experience, I just jam these things in the holes and they go in. So you do one at a time. So now, we'll put the red wire into A and just jam it in there. And hopefully it'll flop through the hole. If you jam it, it'll sometimes go through. It is not going through. And I don't really want to heat these. Okay, so here's some technique. Since the wire is not going through, I'm going to use these pliers to form the tip of the wire. I'm looking for aberrations here. And I'm kind of crunching into a circle to convince this wire that it's symmetrical and ready to go in. So, did this improve our situation? Here's the red wire again. We'll push it up to the hole here. Feels like it might go in. So, now we're kind of stuck, so I'm going to hold the wire here at the risk of burning my fingers. And I'm going to get the soldering